Go, 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 go.
Good afternoon from Baltimore. This is Alastair Williamson. I'm here to tell you that the reemergence of the fourth turning is here. But, here's the big but, you should not be concerned about it as of today. We should understand that this is going to be a precursor to much larger events down the road. But the reason we're saying one should not be too concerned about it is that these events, these type of events of social chaos, upheavals, and whatnot, are limited or isolated to the weekends. And we have to understand and question, why are these events isolated to the weekends? Well, let's break down our economy and understand how the consumer, the health of the consumer. What is on their balance sheet? What type of jobs do they have? What type of debt do they have? So let's first start with the debt and the balance sheets. And what we have to understand is that the consumer is leveraged out, and that's a lot of these individuals participating in these events, in these social chaos events. They have a lot of debt in auto loans, student loans, and consumer debt that involves servicing. And it's very interesting that that is a debt ball and chain kept to suppress the middle class, to suppress those who decide that they want to go out in the streets. And these individuals can only go out in the streets when they're off or they'll miss a debt payment. Now let's understand the type of jobs these individuals have. And we first have to start out with about 96 million people in America are unemployed. It's a terrible number. It's about 22%, according to Shadow Stats, unemployed. Now, if you're going to have a job in America today, you're most likely going to be in the service economy. Your restaurants, your bars, and whatnot. These are low-wage, low-skill jobs that have high turnover rates that keep a person in a perpetual state of insecurity. And you cannot accumulate wealth, but at the same time you have to service your debt. So you really don't get the understanding, or you may not get that education in not just increasing your knowledge or education, but you don't get the understanding of how to go against the system, on how to, let's say, prosper. Now we need to also understand that a lot of these individuals out there are these millennials. And why are they millennials? Well, we see the fourth turning ravaging through America. And it's ravaging in a big way that the institutions that have been around for 40 or 50 years, these institutions are deteriorating, and there is a new generation attempting to take control from the old. And we get this time over time, and we call it the fourth turning. What's very interesting is that we've seen a deterioration of various institutions out there, first being the fourth estate, being the media. We've seen the Trump administration with Steve Bannon hit the fourth estate and the media and has brought upon a new, and that's what we're seeing here in this transitional period in America, is we're seeing new systems, new institutions coming online with new ideals and beliefs. And it's very interesting that we see the status quo using community organizing groups, using Antifa, using Black Lives Matter for their agenda to pursue and keep the status quo, keep the control over the people. And what we need to realize here is that when we get concerned here in Baltimore, when we get concerned when these clashes and these social upheavals occur on the weekdays, because then we understand that the American populace, or those who are participating in these events, are skipping out on their jobs, skipping out on the ball of chain called servicing their debt, and are choosing to miss payments and go out there and riot or protest. That is when we should be concerned. When we see these weekend isolated events transition onto the weekdays. As of right now, that really hasn't occurred, except for an anomaly in Baltimore in those 2015 riots. Now, to understand about Baltimore and why Baltimore is a model city of why everything is wrong in America, and if we want to fix America, we need to look to Baltimore for solutions, and then we can learn from those solutions in pilot programs. But some of the reasons that we saw these riots kind of migrate into Baltimore is that most African Americans in Baltimore have a net worth, 33% of African Americans in Baltimore City have a net worth of zero. A lot of African Americans are unemployed. The families are destroyed, and the SNAP recipient program has more than doubled over the past 15 years. the unemployment level is many times higher than the white community, and it gives the black community that is about 66% of the population in Baltimore. It gives them the leisure to go out there and do whatever they want. And what happened when Black Lives Matter came into Baltimore? And by the way, they had a infusion of capital of about $100 million from George Soros. What they were able to do is take those who were unemployed, or take those in the streets or in those communities, and pinpoint them and lead these individuals as a herd to create chaos. So once we see chaos in the streets, and this is occurring in the weekdays, then we will be very concerned. You have Mike Cernovich coming out today signaling for the Civil War. We would tell you this, Mike Cernovich: look at the American populace, understand their economic state, understand how they have a debt ball and chain. It's called servicing their debt. And until we see these events, these isolated events on the weekends, transition onto the weekdays, we shouldn't be too concerned about, but we should understand that these will be precursors to much larger events down the road. As of today, we are waiting for these events to just transition into the weekday, and once it's transitional into the weekday, that is our warning sign and saying all is not right here in America. All is not right.